Among Hanna-Barbera's large stable of characters, probably the most recognizable villain is Dick Dastardly. Primarily known for his role in Wacky Races, he has appeared in a variety of productions within the HB universe, usually up to no good. Like many Hanna-Barbera creation, Wacky Races and Dastardly were inspired by another piece of media, specifically the Blake Edwards 1965 comedy The Great Race. That movie depicts a lengthy automobile race and the hijinks that ensue. It's a delightful comedy and one of my favorite Edwards films. The main villain is Professor Fate, played in a wonderfully over-the-top performance by Jack Lemmon. Sporting a mustache, wearing a top hat, and living in a castle, Fate is every vaudeville mustache-twirling villain in the book, which makes sense seeing as The Great Race was directly inspired by classic slapstick silent comedies. He has a sidekick named Max, played by Peter Falk, who helps and sometimes wrecks his schemes, but is always by his side. Participating in the big race, Fate immediately starts sabotaging the other racers with various hidden gadgets. His main opponents are Daredevil, the Great Leslie, played by Tony Curtis, and a journalist named Maggie, played by Natalie Wood. The entire film is a lot of fun, but it's Lemmon as Fate who provides the biggest laughs. Watching the movie, it's easy to see why Hanna-Barbera would want to create an animated show with a similar premise and characters. Professor Fate would become Dick Dastardly, Leslie-inspired Peter Perfect, and Maggie's cartoon equivalent was Penelope Pitstop. Instead of a human sidekick, Dastardly had a snickering dog in the car with him named Muttley, who would often delight in seeing his driver's misfortunes. Every episode of Wacky Races would depict some sort of race, with Dastardly constantly thinking of some way to cheat and win the race, often to no avail. He was voiced by Paul Winchell, who brought the right villainous energy to the role, whether he's plotting how to stop the other drivers or shouting drat and double drat whenever he failed. I really enjoyed watching Wacky Races as a child, and I still have a lot of affection towards it. The different racers had their own funny, identifiable personalities, and although most of the attention was on Dastardly and Muttley, and occasionally Penelope Pitstop, there was still a curiosity over who would win the race. The writers came up with all sorts of fiendish ways for Dastardly to try to cheat using his car, the Mean Machine. The dynamic between him and Muttley was key to the show's delights, and they built up a unique partnership. Although a part of me thinks Muttley only participated in the race to see how each ridiculous scheme would blow up in his master's face. By the end of the series, he failed to win a single race or even land in the top 3 positions at all. Well, technically. Dastardly did win one race, but in a move that is considered controversial by Wacky Races fans, the judges disqualified him because he extended his car's nose to get through the finish line first. There's another episode where Dastardly and Muttley come very close to winning, but because of a switcheroo that results in them winding up in the Arkansas Chuckabug, they're warned they will be disqualified if they cross the finish line in the wrong car. What makes his constant cheating even funnier and more pointless is that the Mean Machine is depicted as a very fast car, so he could easily win the race legitimately, but he appears to not see the fun in doing that. Through its 17 episodes, Wacky Races charm thanks to Hanna-Barbera's ability at showing the lengths the main antagonist goes to win and all the different ideas he came up with to accomplish this. A year after Wacky Races premiered, Dick Dastardly got another animated show titled Dastardly and Muttley and Their Flying Machines, although for the longest time I remembered it being named Stop the Pigeon. However, that was just the name of the theme song. The show was set during World War I, and involved Dastardly and a team of flyers trying to stop a carrier pigeon from delivering an important message. The episodes were pretty standard in their plotting, but the enjoyment usually came from seeing how he and his team would fail at capturing the pigeon. Switching to the skies was an inspired way to give Dastardly a new obstacle to overcome, even though we knew he would not succeed in his mission. Dastardly would not appear on screens again until the mid-80s, at which point Hanna-Barbera seemed to set him up as the big bad of the animation universe. He was the main villain in the series Yogi's Treasure Hunt, where he would try to stop Yogi and his friends from getting to the treasure first. There were also episodes that parodied other shows as well as classic stories. The show featured Dick Dastardly as the president of a country named Nicaragua, and in a strange meta-gag he tortures prisoners with episodes of their flying machines, including forcing the theme song to get stuck in their heads. Did the writer of this episode just really hate that show? Dastardly would also serve as the villain on the Universal Studios simulator ride The Fantastic World of Hanna-Barbera. In the ride, he kidnaps Elroy Jetson and Yogi Bear and Boo Boo go after him. They crash through other Hanna-Barbera shows along the way, including The Flintstones and The Jetsons. For whatever reason, Dastardly was not voiced by Paul Winchell here. Instead, Michael Bell, who also did a lot of voice work for HB, took on the role. While Bell's Dastardly did not sound exactly like Winchell's, it was a noble effort on his part. Impressively, it lasted for 12 years at Universal Studios, eventually being replaced by a Nickelodeon-themed ride with a similar premise. A child version of Dastardly, voiced by Rob Paulsen, would appear in the series Yo Yogi, along with several other child versions of Hanna-Barbera characters. That was a common type of animated show at the time, with Hanna-Barbera especially seeming to get into the act, with a pup named Scooby-Doo, the Flintstones kids, and Tom and Jerry kids as well. There have been a few attempts to revive Wacky Races for new generations. One was a show named Wacky Races Forever, which featured new characters as well as some redesigns. Dick Dastardly was voiced by Jim Cummings, and he was tasked with stopping the children of Peter Perfect and Penelope Pitstop, who are now racers themselves. Although curiously, their son looks very similar to Fred from Scooby-Doo. Maybe they're related. The show was never picked up, with only a short pilot being produced. In 2017, another Wacky Races show was made, which managed to reach 78 episodes. This one expanded on Dick Dastardly's history by revealing the ones we've seen over the years are not the same person. The one in their flying machines was the father of the Dick Dastardly and Wacky Races, whose own son is now racing and continuing the family line of scheming and cheating. Recently, Dick Dastardly served as the central villain in the movie Scoob, where he was voiced by Jason Isaacs, and I thought he was the best part of the movie, with Isaacs delivering a really entertaining vocal performance. In the movie, he tries to free Muttley from the underworld, although he's still up to no good. Scoob was meant to start a Hanna-Barbera Cinematic Universe, and as a result, there's several Easter eggs throughout. One I got a bit of amusement from was the revelation that Dastardly finally did stop the pigeon. The other Wacky Racers were going to appear in Scoob, including participating in the racing sequence, but that was scrapped. Warner Brothers also initially announced a Wacky Races movie as part of the HBCU. However, there have not been any updates regarding the future of this cinematic universe since the release of Scoob, even though they were also planning new Flintstones and Jetsons movies. Well, aside from that Scooby-Doo holiday movie that was cancelled despite being almost finished. Although if you really want to see a Wacky Races movie, The Great Race is honestly pretty close. Dick Dastardly has earned his place as one of the most memorable characters to come out of Hanna-Barbera. His plans may always fail, but he was often an entertaining presence, helped by having Muttley snickering next to him. See you next time.